get out there. You gotta punch him in the face. You gotta punch him in the arms. You gotta punch him. You gotta punch him everywhere. All right. And if he tries to block, you gotta punch him there too. All right. Now get out there and show him what your stuff. Get out there and show him that your coach name is fake Namerson, and your name is.
Can I just punch him in the dick?
Sure, we can do that too. Sure, we can do. Get out there, James. Go get him.
All right, I will punch him right square in the dick.
All right, welcome back. To a new member, actually. Someone, the ever hypocritical fake Namerson, of course, has to contradict himself. So I have brought on someone from the Sane group. That thing I said I was never going to do. My current GM, actually, of the Sane group. I refer to him as Olaf in the podcast. If you watched the podcast I did with Alec, I don't know what episode that's going to be. But his name is James. You want to tell them a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm James. I've been playing D&D for over 15 years. I met Jonas, or fake Namerson, I guess.
Whichever. I've already been outed.
Yeah, that's true. About a year ago, and we hang out, play card games, and do all kinds of cool stuff. But yeah, I currently DM for our current group, which is pretty much our former group, just minus 2 people. So.
2 people? Oh yeah.
Yeah, Zena's not here anymore either, which is kind of sad sometimes, but life goes on. Life goes on.
Alright, we're here today. For anyone of you who has watched any part of the Alec cast, you probably heard me tell a story about my first D&D game. Or my first D&D experience, at least. I have the cream of the crop. Maybe the best source of information I can get right now, or at least in real life, on how bad that was. And today we're here to talk about it. All right, let's jump into it.
It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
I know. Actually, I didn't write this down, actually, but start something light. There was an evil campaign we did. What did you think about it?
At first, I really enjoyed it. I mean, it was probably the best campaign that we had as far as, like, it actually came to somewhat of a close, even though it was, like, a really, really abrupt.
I was actually
kind
of upset that we did not close.
Crappy, shitty, really bad ending, but it was at least an ending. The rest of the campaigns we played in, I mean, there was no completion to it whatsoever. But the campaign itself was fine. I mean, there was a lot of bullshit that happened that was pretty bullshitty. But I mean, for the most part, like, it seemed like, since I was kind of the new member of the group at the time, it kind of seemed like that was the most fun that I had seen people have. But I mean, I had fun regardless, just because of the people that I was playing with. Like, me and played a set of twins of his custom race that was ridiculously overpowered.
So I should probably mention also, I have not mentioned any of the other members groups on the names on the show.
We'll say
Hi guy.
We'll say Dante. I don't know. That just sounds like a really cool name.
All right, Dante.
I'll probably forget that in like 30 seconds. But
I mean, we could ask him if he wants his name on the show, but
I'm sure he won't care. But so me and Dante played a set of twins of a custom race. It was just so powerful that, I mean, it had no reason or will to be in a 5th edition D&D game. And then everybody else kind of had their own like little motives, but that as far as like character development, I feel like that was the most that everyone kind of put a solid effort into. And then to have it kind of rushed at the end kind of felt insulting to a lot of people.
Yeah. But
there was one person in particular that did not want to continue the evil campaign, and thus the evil campaign kind of came to a screeching halt.
Oh, it was one person?
There was only one person as far as I know.
Oh. I bet.
Aside from, what were we calling him, Bulgravahl himself, there was
Wait.
only one other person.
I might ask you for that name after this. Because I've actually always been curious. Like, I thought everyone was having a good time, but I'm not going to judge.
Right. I mean, it was a good time, but like I said, you know, The way it seemed to go for me, I mean, I don't know, I can't speak for you or anybody else, but the way it always seemed to go for me is the first two to four sessions were always okay, and then there's just like this steep, like far down bullshit path that just, it seemed like every session after like the fourth session, it would just get like deeper and deeper and deeper into like a mound of rubbish, basically. Mm. But as far as the evil campaign goes, yeah, it was fine. I mean, I've played in so many D&D campaigns that, like, would I rank it up in the top 25 I've ever played in? Probably not.
But it was serviceable.
It was serviceable. I would say it was serviceable. Especially, like, I mean, I come out and say it all the time to you guys that I feel like that was, like, the worst way you could have been introduced into D&D. But, like, I mean, as far as the campaigns that he was responsible for DMing, that was probably the best one.
Trying to think before I jump into the next what I wanted to ask you about, because I know there's a lot of details I left out about the first campaign that are actually kind of important. It's probably why I left them out, because I can't remember them. Oh well. I guess we can talk about it. At one point in time,
Beep.
I wanted to go to Twitch.
Bulgravahl.
Damn it. We'll just cut.
Well, yeah, that'll go. We'll edit that out in post.
We'll say all right, we'll just start this over. At one point in time, Bulgravahl wanted to take his D&D career to Twitch, not the Switch. I jumped out pretty early, and unfortunately, I'm kind of known for doing that, even among my other group of friends, jumping out. But I feel like I'm justified. Like I can see that this train doesn't have much tracks,
right?
And right. I don't. Well, besides that, I also had like personal reasons I didn't want to be on it. I'll be honest, the biggest one is that they're using a camera.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is it kept changing. It was, at first everybody agreed to. Well, not everybody. A few of us agreed to do a podcast, like a D&D actual play podcast. And then the next week we come up and he's like, "Well, I spent $600 on recording software and $300 on this camera and this," and it's like nobody agreed to be on camera. And then to touch on that just a little bit more, at the time there was let's see, me, you, Z or X, I guess. Yeah. Another C, J, and then another C. I won't say his name because I don't want to call him out, but he played a tabaxi at one point. Yeah. All right. So at that point, he wanted to boot some people. I won't say who because I don't. I think that there's still some friendships over there that I'm not for sure about, but wanted to boot certain people because he wanted to make it more, like, I guess, entertaining to some people.
So I can actually kind of chime in on that. So wait, was I one of those people actually?
No, you were on the fence, but me and other guy's name that starts with a J kind of stuck up for you and said, like, we're not going to do this if Jonas Fake Namerson isn't in it.
I kind of mentioned it on the last podcast. I'm not very good at role playing. That being said, I guess in that group I wasn't the worst.
No, for sure, not by a long shot.
There's like 2 other people.
I would say at least 2 that were below. Yeah, 3 if we go a little bit further back.
All right, yeah, and I can see why that's not the most It makes a lot of sense why you wouldn't want someone like that on your live stream.
But at the same time, look at what would come of that though, because at the time those 2 people lived together. Yeah, there'd be a lot of like animosity. I mean, if I was in that person's shoes and they approached me and were like, "Hey, because you're boring, we don't want you in this," basically. Like I would feel some kind of way about that. Yeah. I mean, that whole living situation exploded in on itself anyway, but I mean, that would have been a very, very, that would have been a reason that, like, for me anyways, that I'd be like, I'm getting the hell out of here. you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole podcast turned Twitch stream thing. I think everybody knew that it wasn't going to happen. Just mainly because there was literally no interest from anyone else for being on camera. Nobody else wanted, you know, we're not Critical Role. We don't have 40 hours a day basically to spend on, you know, writing a story, and we don't have fancy lighting, and we don't, you know, it's not like we're not going to become Critical Role or high rollers, and everybody else just kind of wanted to play the game, so to speak.
Dude, all right, we're gonna branch off just a little bit. This dude spent a lot of money.
Oh my God.
I don't even understand where he got it. Cause like,
that's the thing.
It's not like he had that good of a job.
No, and like I'm not trying to throw out the guy's personal business and whatnot, but like,
I think he's briefly mentioned he's got some. It's not too
but like he's so.
But
at the time where you've got to pay bills and do this and do that and be an adult, he went out and spent $480 on a set of when the Storm King's Thunder minis released. I'm pretty sure it was Storm King's Thunder. Could have been some other like Icons of the Realm-ish like expansion sets. And then turned around the next day and spent $1,000 on a dragon statue that was never going to get used. And then turned around and spent $2,500 on like a 3.5 edition thing of Bahamut. And I don't know.
It's just like no way he had that much money.
Just the
that's more money than I make a year.
The amount of money coming out, it just made no sense to me. It was like, and then, you know, like I guess this is a good time to bring up, like, we have another friend in the group who was a really late addition. He came in, way after me at that point.
I'm actually gonna call him Ragna.
Rodna?
Ragna. Because in Blaze Blue, Taukaka's nickname for Ragna is White Guy.
Oh,
and I'm pretty sure you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Ragna.
Anyway, he took him to the hardware store, the local hardware store, to buy. I'm not gonna say their name because they're not gonna sponsor us.
I mean,
jerks.
I mean, we can say it. It's not like.
But no free promotions.
All right, generic store,
hardware store,
yeah.
And he like drags him in there, goes and decides what he wants, and it turns out it was going to be like $2,700 or something like that. And so Bulgravahl shows, I'm just gonna say white dude because I'm not as fancy. Rodna, there you go. He shows him like how much money he has in his bank account, and I don't know the specifics, but I'm pretty sure it was like $160 was all that was in there.
Damn.
And he was like, I can't afford this.
How
So
do you do that?
But so he like. Instead of just walking off, you know, because I mean nobody really cared. We had a place to play. I mean, it's not like we had to go out and spend all kinds of crazy money for like this massive gaming dungeon or whatever. We had a place to play that we played at every week before then, and instead of just walking away from it, he kind of coerces the guy into going halfsies on him on 2 pieces of butcher block.
But wait, he doesn't even have halfsies money.
Yeah, he didn't even have halfsies basically. So the way it worked is they bought two like, I don't know the exact size. We'll say like 4x8 butcher blocks.
I think it was a little bit more than 4x8.
Yeah, I'd say it was. But basically bought these 2 butcher blocks, and they found like an old computer desk, and Bulgravahl paid for a butcher block. And white guy paid for the other butcher block and all the materials to put said table together. And then when it came to putting the table together, it was me and white guy putting the table together while he sat there and watched us, which happened a lot. Anytime there was some kind of major project or anything going on, it ended up being everybody else doing it, and
he was a manager.
And he kind of micromanaged / supervised / complained and griped when things were not going the way he wanted them to. So it was just one of those, like, you know, it was great. It was great. It was a fun time. Fun time for everyone.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
It was actually something I was gonna say, but I forgot what it was. I'll probably remember later.
I just rambled a little bit.
I probably should have wrote it down, to be honest. We have this here for a reason.
Oh yeah. I don't even look at those notes. I just spout off the top of my head. You know, it's a combination of furiosity and just head smacking.
So, you actually have... I'll be honest, I'm terrible at noticing these kind of things. So I'm going to rely on you for most of this.
Okay.
You wrote down that he treated people as slaves.
Yes. For sure.
She probably, like... I think I can give, like, a little bit of prelude to it, so they know, the audience knows a little bit of what we're talking about. And then I'm going to have you take over. So, when, first off, in D&D, I think for a while, the way we leveled up, we did a bit of, like, milestones and EXP. Not good. Don't do it. If you're listening to this, don't do it. Even if you don't even play D&D, don't do it.
For sure.
But something you could do to get more EXP is essentially bribe him, like, or do something for him. So, like, he liked Mountain Dew. He really just loved this drink. If it was Mellow Yellow, he would not get it. I actually know a few people like that. Well, different drinks, so I kind of understand. But
it's like bourbon and whiskey. It's the same thing, but it's different.
Sure. Anyway, Xena was always willing to buy him the Mountain Dew. Actually, Xena was willing to buy anybody anything, to be honest.
Right. She's sweetheart.
Yeah, she's really nice. I can't say too much bad about Xena.
I can't say anything bad about Xena. I think Xena is the epitome of a nice person.
The only bad thing about Xena was when she, like, played. She was just kind of slow. But that's about it. Anyway, back to Bulgravahl. Because most of this is about him. So what Bulgravahl would do was, if you did something like that, he'd be like, oh, okay, you get, at the end of the session, he'd be like, all right, Xena brought me Mountain Dew, so she gets 50 EXP. That's horribly scaled, by the way, now that I think about it.
For sure.
Or like, oh, Jay cooked, because he used to do that, and it was awesome. He gets like 240 EXP. I can see where that might be cool, but then you get into people like me. The only thing I could really do was bring like a pastry or something. Or bring like a cake. I could go to the store and get you like a cake. And actually, sometimes I couldn't do that because at the time I worked at a minimum wage job. No, not minimum wage.
Minimum for where we are.
Yeah,
wage.
For where we are. Minimum wage. And, like, I mean, when this dude is spending more money than I see a year, it's kind of hard for me to follow something like that. So, of course, I wouldn't get too much of the EXP. Not only that, but in addition to, like, bringing him things, or actually, no, as well as bringing him things, if you did something like, say, get him a cup of ice, you get 50 XP. At that point, I'm actually going to turn it over to you, because you have something to say about that.
Oh, for sure. I have something to say about a little bit of everything. So, the whole, like, bribing people for EXP thing, it like, as a DM, it's insulting, honestly. Like, you know, if you're going to use experience points as you know, a form of leveling up, it's something that should be attained through, you know, through in-game stuff. Like, I have no problems, like, say for like what I do currently is like at the end of the session, I'll go around and ask people, hey, you know, what did somebody do that was super cool? What did somebody do that was awesome? And they'll get an inspiration point, which kind of that's one way where I kind of differ from 5e. But anyway, so your inspiration points could be used to reroll botched rolls and roll an advantage on certain things. And that to me is like, okay, you know, if you're gonna give something to players for acting cool or acting a character, that's awesome. Do it. I don't even care if it's XP. But for doing like mediocre chores, like, hey, go get me a cup of ice, I'll give you 50 XP. At that point, it's like it's bribing for inanimate shit, and it's just dumb.
And not only that, it's actually that's actually not to the spirit of the game. The EXP is supposed to be like a representation of your character growing. I'm very sure that your elf wizard grew when he brought your DM cup of ice.
Yeah.
So much experience.
Well, let's see. Fake Namerson's character just killed a dragon, but Xena brought me a cup of ice.
Oh, yeah.
It's equivalent.
I mean, you know.
But, like, so it's just stuff like that. And then when it came, because at one point, we were playing in a public space, and at one point, a small group of our friends decided to all move in together, and they got, like, an apartment or whatever. Well, I don't know if it was kind of like a split house deal. Townhouse. We'll say townhouse.
Yeah.
And, so while we were there, we got a new addition. We'll call him Tabaxi, I guess, because I don't know if you've called him anything in the past.
I think I was gonna call him Dust.
Dust, that'll work.
Yeah.
Because I think that was his character name.
That was actually my character name.
Oh, was your character name? Oh.
I figured because he played a better Tabaxi, to be honest.
He did. He actually made cat noises and everything. Yeah. But anyway, so we were there, and as soon as Bulgravahl found that this guy would pretty much do anything that he would ask him to do, Dust began doing chores for him at his own house. Take out my garbage and do this and do. It was just like, for real, you're a grown ass 40-year-old man. You don't need to be like have other people do your chores and stuff for you, and you can go get your own damn cup of ice. I mean, your legs are fully functioning. I mean, to me, it became insulting to everybody, and like even the people that were getting the EXP were like, this is just ridiculous. Like Jay was one of the first people to call him out on it. Like 50 XP for getting you a damn Mountain Dew. That's just it's dumb. And then the rewarding for doing household chores, I think, was kind of the icing on the cake. But even when there was no reward involved, it seemed like he was always expecting other people to do everything for him, whether it be, chores, like I said before, or, if he was missing X amount of money for something, everybody should want to chip in on it because it's for the group. And it's just, some of us have a little bit better jobs than the rest of them and can afford to, to splurge a little bit, but like, or at the time.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, it was like, and then it became like asking for favors from other people at their jobs. And
not only that, the people that did have better jobs had families.
Yeah. For sure.
So it made sense.
Yeah.
I didn't have a family, so I didn't really need.
Right.
I still don't have a family, so I didn't need a high-paying job.
Yeah, I mean, I'm nearly 30 damn years old, so I mean, I don't have like kids or anything, but I got a wife and a dog, so I gotta get them that puppy chow.
Yeah. For
my wife and the lasagna for my dog. But so I mean, it became one of those petty things of like, hey, I want you to do this for me. Go do this for me. Go take out my trash. Go get me a cup of ice. And I think everybody was too afraid. Well, not everybody, because some of us would say no, but there were certain people that were too afraid to say no because I think they kind of wanted inclusion and were afraid that if they didn't do what he wanted, that they would somehow not be included, I think was what it kind of boiled down to. I know for sure that's the way it was for Dust. for we'll say Baron. For Baron, I don't think it was that. I think it was just like, he asked me to do this. If I don't, he's just gonna freaking pester me about it all day. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Because I know at one point when they were living together, they had it kind of set in stone that Baron would do the dishes and Bulgravahl would take the trash out. But every time, if there was like a dish or something left over in the sink, that it's
actually no. I think it was the other way around, where Bulgravahl would do the dishes and he would take the trash out.
Yeah, probably. That sounds.
Because I remember Baron said the dishes were still. One day he was telling us a story. It said like the dishes were still there.
Right. So he would take the trash out when it'd get full, but he also worked a full-time job. So if if for some reason it'd sit there for an extra day or an extra half a day, he would get on him about it. But then you'd go by and the same set of dishes has been there for a week, and if anybody said anything to him, it instantly became like an issue with all kinds of stuff.
I'm fat and my back it hurts.
Pretty much. At one point,
is that a thing?
Probably.
Okay. I've actually noticed that like a lot of like even they're not even fat, like bigger people, they'll have back problems.
I'm not fat, but I'm old and I have back problems. I mean, there's that, But so at one point they were living together and Bulgravahl lost his job and was sitting at the house 24/7. So this I think and not that Baron will probably ever be on here, but if
he wants to, but
we'll just I'll kind of say it for him and he could correct me if I'm wrong if he listens to this, but I think that might have been the turning point is when Baron walks in. And Baron has a really big dog. He has a full-blood Rottweiler. And if anybody else that has dogs will tell you that dogs can be messy, especially big dogs. It's not that I'm saying that the dog was like crapping all over the house or anything, but big dogs, especially like Rottweilers and Saint Bernards and stuff like that, like they drool all over the place, and their drool does not smell good. It stinks. It's just part of having a dog. Like I have a Corgi German Shepherd. He kind of drools like a German Shepherd does, and it stinks. But so he comes home one day, and they're sitting on the couch. Bulgravahl and Xena are sitting on the couch, and before Baron even has a chance to sit down, Bulgravahl is like, "We need to talk ASAP about your dog. Your dog is disgusting. It's blah 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 blah. We just can't deal with it anymore." At that point, Baron was ready to get out. He, I don't think, was maybe 2 months into that? If that? Yeah. I know it wasn't very long.
Yeah, I think it only lasted 2 months.
So, he got up and was like, I'm done, I'm out, and ended up leaving. So, there was that, and then there was the whole, like I said, just anytime there was anything wrong, say like the garbage was 2 hours late to being taken out, it became an issue. Or like
2 hours late.
it was an issue. Like anything super minor was just this major issue. Like, oh, your dog got sick because we fed him, and that's another thing. They would feed the dog like table food when Baron didn't want them to feed the dog table food, and the dog hadn't had table food or a lot of table food in the past, so the dog got sick and would puke. And they would let it sit there until Baron got home, because even though they're feeding the dog the stuff, the dog is not their problem. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I say them, but it was really Bulgravahl and not Xena doing this. But Xena also had a little dog, and the dog was a little yippy dog. That's just the way they are. I think it was like a Chihuahua or something.
Yeah.
And anytime that dog would start yelping, he'd be like, "You need to control your dog. You need to control your animal. Blah 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 blah. It's just getting to be too much around here. We can't focus on the game." And
can't separate people from their dogs.
Right. Exactly.
Man's best friend.
Yeah, and Taco's best friend. Because they're Chihuahuas, so they're Taco Bell best friends. But it got to be too much, I think, for Baron, like almost instantly. And I tell Baron every single time I see him, I'm so glad you don't live in that house anymore. Because when we first branched off, I was so afraid to invite Baron. And Baron is one of my close, good friends. He was the, shoot, what the heck do you call it? I want to say escort, but that makes him sound like a prostitute. He was like he was the guy that walked people out of my wedding. I'm just going to say escort because I don't know what the proper term is.
Shoot.
Something. I mean, he was something at my wedding.
Groomsman?
No, he wasn't a groomsman. But he was like the step below a groomsman. He was almost a good enough friend to be a groomsman. That sounds terrible. But yeah, so I mean, like we're really good friends, but I was afraid that, I didn't want to cause issues for him living where he lived. I was afraid that maybe if like I said something to him that like that he'd be like, oh, well, I can't do that to Ron, because I thought when all this was going down, I thought they were like the best of friends.
Yeah,
I really did. I thought they were like super good close friends, and it turned out that he used them for kind of the same reason that everybody else did, to find a D&D group and make other friends. So I think I touched enough on that. I could go on and on.
Yeah, like I've already explained to you, at least. I don't know if I've explained to everyone else. I am my own person. I've always prided myself on the fact that if I have a problem with you, I will go up to you and tell you what I don't like about you. In fact, I probably should have saved that because I wanted to use that as a lead-in for something I want to end on. That being said, I'm going to quickly shift gears.
Gear shift.
Yeah. You may not know this, but fun fact, I could have lived in that house. Beep. Actually contacted me before this agreement happened. I was like, hey, are you looking for a roommate or anything? I didn't know what it was for at the time. I thought like he like lost his house or something. I was like, I mean, we have like a room back there you could sleep in or something, but yeah. I mean, I don't know what mom would. You said his real name again too, by the way. Damn. We'll put like a little beep over it. Yeah.
Beep.
Yeah, I did that in the episode 0 actually. Even because I said Jared's real name, and then eventually we decided like, well, we're just gonna use real names anyway.
Yeah, that works. But no, I get what you're saying, because he also lived with another set of friends, that, another group of friends that we have.
Oh.
So when he was first up here.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So
they told me about that.
Yeah, it was not a pleasant experience for them, but
actually, do you know anything about that? Because like I remember hearing that we're gonna call him what's a good name?
Smiley.
Aegis. There we go.
Okay, we'll call him Aegis.
All right. I remember hearing that Aegis and Bulgravahl were actually like really good friends. But according to some of the stories he's told me, no.
I think what it all boils down to is we live in a very, very, very remote area.
We live in a small town, by the way.
It's a super, not super small, but I mean it's a smallish town.
It's a small town that's growing.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of people like-minded people up here. A lot of people are up here for work, and that's it. So to find a like-minded group to play D&D is kind of a rarity. You find a bunch of group of nerds that everybody likes the same thing, and it's not out here just to make $45, $50 an hour.
Yeah.
But so I think Aegis kind of used Bulgravahl for the same reason that everybody else did. Well, that a good portion of people did. But I guess I don't really know for sure how well of friends they were. And I'm sure it differs now because a lot of stuff came out after the fact, like about how Bulgravahl was talking nonsense about his significant other.
Yeah, pregnant lady. I mean, she's not pregnant anymore, but I'm still.
Former
She's
pregnant lady.
she's pregnant lady in my heart. She's
Former pregnant lady / pregnant lady. But so when all that stuff came out, I mean, I'm sure that instantly changed his opinion on the guy, which wasn't very high anyway at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll piggyback into that and say that, like, when everything went down, I wasn't sure if I was going to leave the group or not. At the time, I was getting ready for my wedding, where we were playing once, sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times a week, depending on, what games were being ran at the time. I procrastinated a lot. I waited until, like, there was 2 months, 3 months left until my wedding, and then that's when I started doing everything. So I made the decision that I was like, you know what, I'm going to take these 2 or 3 months, not play, not do anything but focus on my wedding. So when that all went down, I actually think I can pull up the messages, but from right off the top of my head, Aegis had already pulled out from the group for the most part. He just did not want to play another game ran by Bulgravahl. So, and then at that point, Jay had also been gone for probably the better yet of 4 or 5 months.
Yeah. Jay was actually one of the first to leave.
Yeah, Jay. So now I'm gonna sidetrack a little bit.
All right.
So
I'll write it down.
When me and Jay, when I first started with the group, Jay was really the only one that I had ever hung out with outside of D&D. I could kind of like fake Namerson over here. I have multiple groups of friends. I have my D&D group of friends. I have my close high school group of friends. And then, I had my work friends. So the only person that I really hung out with outside of the Saturday D&D game was Jay. So
aren't you guys also like about the same age?
Yeah,
that helps.
Yeah, I mean, there's such a broad age range with our group. Like you and Baron are the youngins for the most part, and I would lump White Guy in there too probably. Well, him and are about the same age. Oh, sorry, him and Aegis are about the same age.
Yeah. And then we got Grandpa.
And then we got Grandpa.
And then we got I don't know how old that dude is.
We'll call him Shathid because that's his character.
Yeah, Shathid.
So Shathid is, I think, only like 2 or 3 years older than I am. I could be wrong though. But see, they're new additions that came in after the fact. Shathid and Grandpa. God, he's gonna kill us. but
you know what? He's Grandpa in my heart.
So me and Jay are, I think Jay's a year older than I am, and we have a lot of the same views on just about like anything. I mean, my wife calls us secret gay lovers. So I mean, like, we're kind of like the same soul basically. So like if he has an opinion on something, 9 times out of 10, like, I have the same opinion. I mean, we both drink PBR religiously, and I don't think anybody else in the country drinks PBR except for us two. So sponsors PBR.
Yeah.
But so like, I mean, we're 2 of the same people. So anyway, when everything went down, I think you touched on it a little bit on the last go round, but when everything went down with the whole like killing of Xena's character and like the loss of his clerical abilities and whatnot, we met up afterwards because I missed that session. I think that was when we were looking at when we were looking for a venue. But, like, I missed that session entirely. So I knew that they were going to be running the Tomb of Horrors. I did not know the shitstorm that was about to unfold, though. I mean, I think that was probably the turning point for me when I realized that, like, this is not the group that I want to be a part of entirely. Like, I almost didn't show up after the first session that I played. Because I walked in, and I got I don't remember what he called it. Some weird thing. They gave me a +20 to all dexterity-based checks.
God.
So a dexterity a dexterity check for me was a +27, I think, because he also gave me like these boots that gave me a +3 to dexterity.
Oh my god.
So like my stealth was like a +30. My sleight of hand was like a +30.
So I was just ridiculously overpowered, and I was like, this is just not the way I play D&D, because the group that I came from beforehand, we were like 7th level characters that were 7th level characters. I mean, we didn't have very many magic items. We were still kind of starting adventurers or whatever. But so me and Jay, after that all went down, the next week we went out to like a Mexican restaurant, and we were sitting out and just hanging out. And Jay was like, I'm not going back. I'm not going to play, in that game anymore. I have zero interest. He's like, the only thing I want to do is I want to take my character and make him jump off a cliff or something.
Oh yeah, I remember him saying that.
He literally has no reason to live. He's like, I don't think that Bulgravahl thinks of that kind of stuff. Like, if you're someone who's so devoutly to this faith, and all of a sudden this person's gone and has exonerated you from their life completely, like, yeah, you're gonna feel some kind of way. You're not just gonna be like, oh, well, that's okay. I still have 2 levels of sorcerer. So Jay is really into the role playing aspect. Jay is probably, I would say, top 5 role players I've ever played with.
He's, in my opinion, one of the best at the table, actually.
Yeah, for sure. Which kind of sucks because right now he has to Skype in because he's away, and you get a lot better, a lot more of it in person. But anyway, we met up and we were talking about it, and he's like, "I'm not coming back. I have no interest in coming back. I wish my character was dead. What do you think about splitting off?" And I told him, I was like, "Well, let's do it." And it was my stupidity where I just I got last minute. I got scared. I didn't want to lose all my friends, my D&D friends, so I backed out. And then Jay and I didn't really talk for a couple months. I mean, it was a long time before Jay and I talked again, but it kept getting worse. So when I was getting ready for my wedding, Bulgravahl was constantly on me about showing up for the D&D game. And I was like, look, man, I told you I'm taking this time to get ready for my wedding. It's a lot more important to me than a Saturday game. If you have to move on, that's fine. He's like, well, but you left, and now Aegis is gone, and then White Guy's gone now because his wife was pregnant at the time, getting ready to have a baby, or had just had the baby, one of the two. I can't quite remember. After everything completely fell apart, it was just you, Xena, Dust, and him. And then that other guy that showed up, I don't even know his name, honestly. But so after my wedding, I told my wife that I was not going to come back and play in that game. I just told her, I was like, I'm done. I don't like the drama. I don't like the pettiness. So I didn't play D&D for probably a month, couple weeks. And Aegis approached me and was like, hey, do you want to come to this magic event that I'm having? Because I didn't really care much for Magic the Gathering at the time. I more kind of played Force of Will, and that was really it for card games. But he invited me to this magic event, and I was like, okay. And it was there that I met Shathid and Grandpa. So while we were playing this or whatever, Aegis kept mentioning, how fun D&D is and how he kind of missed D&D, and because he had completely quit at the same time that I did. Once I told him that I wasn't going back, he said, I'm not going back either. I just have no intentions of going back. There was when Aegis approached me and was like, would you run a game for us? And I was like, okay, yeah, I'd be fine with that. We never had any intentions on asking anybody else if they wanted to come. At the time, it just became like hey, we're just going to run this small game for a group of, small group of friends. And then I'm pretty sure next was White Guy. That's such a
not casting characters is amazing. What we got? Well, you call him White Guy. I call him Ragna. We got Baron, Shathid, Aegis.
It's so he White Guy came up next, and I think because at the time, Aegis's wife or girlfriend and his wife were really good friends. So they were talking about it, and I don't remember if I approached White Guy or if Aegis approached him or if he approached us, but had heard about it and was like, hey, I want to play too because I never went back to that game because I was not having fun. at that point, I was just like, well, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I'm going to try to include all my good friends. So then I invited Fake Namerson. Since we're just going to use...
Yeah, I came to a Magic event.
Yep.
It was the first time in a while. I figured, you know what? I don't want them to just like exclude me like they did Bulgravahl.
Right.
I want to come.
Yeah,
it's fun.
The whole point wasn't to exclude everyone. The whole point was I did not want to break up Bulgravahl's and everybody else's friendships over something that I thought was just the four of us.
I'm talking more about Magic, but
right. Well, no, I meant just in general. Like, you know, I wasn't trying to exclude anybody from anything except for Bulgravahl. I just didn't want, you know, I didn't want it to become like, well, if you're going to his game, I don't want you to come over to my house anymore. I didn't want it to be petty like that. Yeah, I mean, it just became like I didn't want it to be like an issue between everybody else. Like, at the time, I thought it was just a small group of us that just weren't having fun. So I said, you know what, let's just go break off. And then, like I said, I hadn't talked to Jay for a couple months. And the first, like, actually, that was before I even invited you. I was like, Jay was the one that wanted this originally. Jay was right the entire time. I want Jay in here. So, no, we'd already played a session before Jay came on.
Yeah, we played a few sessions before Jay came in. Because we all were under the assumption that he left.
Yeah, because we thought... All right,
he said he was moving.
He said he was going back to LA in like March or something.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we got Jay back, which was just the greatest thing ever. And then unfortunately Jay ended up moving away, but we still Skype him in. But so then after everybody was here, to me it just didn't feel right without Baron. And at the time, he was still living with Bulgravahl, at least I thought, because I hadn't really talked to him for a couple weeks. And I was like, you know what, we need to get him on board. So on my wedding night, actually, me and Aegis, because Aegis was was a groomsman in my wedding. We were just talking. We're like, we need to just mention it to him in passing. Just, you know, be like, hey, this is going on. Would you be interested? Don't tell Bulgravahl. We don't want everybody to get all butthurt. Which at almost at that point in time, we were like, okay, well, we pretty much have everybody that was in our old group besides like 3 people.
Yeah. So
we ended up inviting him, and we found out then that he had done what I had said earlier and just said basically held up a big middle finger to him, and then that's where we are today. We got a group of 7 of us, and it's pretty awesome. It's the most fun I've had D&D since I moved back up here. Because like that old group, man, with just having Bulgravahl in it seemed like was just a mood killer. It made me dread coming to play D&D on Saturdays. I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, that's the way it felt.
Take like a bit of like a short break.
All right.
This actually might be the perfect time to like do an episode 2 or cut for an episode 2. Okay. That being said, afterwards we're actually gonna backtrack a bit. Back in time.
Dun, 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 dun.